The Upspin. Simple steps to walk away from anxiety and depression.
Hello, everybody. Wayne here, and welcome to The Upspin. How was your week? I hope it was good. A lot of craziness going on, but that's okay. We can keep it all under control, and that's what we're going to do. So today I'm going to cover the F word. It's a 4-letter word that begins with F. It's called fear. And I know a lot of you were really hoping that I'd have a different word for that, but it's not what this podcast is about. Fear is one thing that drives a lot of people's anxieties and even depression as well. I know it was a big factor in my depression. Once I rose above some of my own fears and faced them, I felt a lot of those issues just kind of melt away. So let's talk about that. What kind of things do you fear? Well, I guess maybe we should define it, just since we're talking about it. We'll define fear. Let's go to Merriam-Webster. Fear, it's a noun and a verb as well. Let's go with just the number one definition on each of them. For the noun, you've got an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation or awareness of danger. And then there's the verb version, transitive verb, to be afraid of or expect with alarm. And our example is fear the worst. So that sounds a lot like anxiety to me. In fact, I'm looking at the second definition in the noun column, anxious concern or solicitude. That's definitely anxiety right there. And that's right up the alley of what we're talking about. Now, I'm not going to dive into every single possible fear that might be out there, but I'd like to try to maybe get you to think about the fears that you hold in yourself, and that maybe you almost, in a way, try to keep secret from yourself. Maybe you're ashamed to be afraid of something like that, or it's too painful to think about something like that. But we need to get to the root. We need to peel back the layers and get down to that little festering blackhead of a fear that is holding you down. So let's try to maybe some exercises to identify what your fears might be. If you've been meditating and you've been trying to stay more aware and a little more mindful about your emotions, maybe this can come to you a little easier. But when you're feeling anxious or you're feeling depressed, think about what it was that triggered that feeling deep down inside. What were you doing when that feeling started to hit? Were you grabbing your keys to go outside? Were you about ready to make a phone call? Were you thinking about, a job interview or a conversation that you need to have? What was that? And if you can find out what that thing was, say it's a tough conversation that you have to have with somebody, try to peel it back even further than that and find out what makes you fear that. It's not what's making you anxious or anything like that. I want to get it down to the root, bare human emotion of fear. What is causing that fear? And why are you afraid of that thing? And if you can get the why, then you can maybe reason with yourself a little more. Why would you be afraid to have this conversation with somebody? Maybe you have to give somebody some bad news, and that's making you anxious. And you get down to the fear of, hurting this person's feelings, then you're afraid to do that. Well, why are you afraid to do that? Because you love this person, you like this person, you respect this person, you don't want to hurt them. It would hurt you to hurt them. So then maybe that's the reason. Reason with yourself, okay, what are your alternatives? What's the alternative to the fear that you have? the fear that you have is hurting this person. What is the alternative? Not telling this person something, keeping this information that might hurt them, or it might not hurt them now, but if they find out later, it's going to hurt them worse. I'm just kind of throwing noodles against the wall and seeing what sticks here, folks, okay? Hopefully you understand where I'm trying to go with this, that there's a method. And I know it's really easier said than done. It's easy for me to sit here behind this microphone and say, oh, do this and do this and do that. But the thing is, I have done those things. And no, it's not easy to do. But the more you practice, the easier it gets. It never gets simple. It's not just a matter of, oh, I'm going to psychoanalyze myself on the fly here. But it gets easier to do once you kind of tune into your own emotions and you can get aware of when you are starting to feel anxious or depressed or even just straight up fearful. That happens too. Maybe there are good reasons for you to be afraid of something, but it's, if you're as long as your life is not in actual real danger, and if it is, get some help if you can. But if it's not, a mortal danger kind of thing, it's in you. It's a fear that is in you, and you could probably get over that fear. And once you face a fear and you stare it down, a lot of the time that fear will crawl away and it won't really bother you again. It might, bark from the corner, but it's not snarling and growling at the doorway, not letting you through. That's something to exercise. That's something to try to practice and something to think about, identifying. Okay, I'm going to take a quickie little break here and try to pay some bills. And I think you're going to hear Sarah's voice next.
You've been listening to The Upspin with Wayne Tapia.
I am not a medical doctor. The techniques and procedures described in this podcast are not intended to replace professional medical advice or doctor-prescribed medications. If there's any time that you feel that you're alone and you want to hurt yourself, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. You're not alone. So in the second half, we're going to cheer things up a little bit and not be so ominous. Fear is kind of a heavy subject to talk about. I just want to tell you a little bit about what happened to me today. There's a park that's close by to where I work at. It's called Discovery Park. If you're ever in Seattle, go check it out. It's really nice. And it was a really nice day today, and I thought, I'm going to go take a walk after work because it's a nice day. So I'm walking and I put the headphones on, and when I walk, I tend to get very introspective and very contemplative, and I was just kind of thinking about a lot of things, and right at the right moment, or maybe the wrong moment, a particular song came on, and it really triggered some fairly deep emotions in me. It's not that that song always does that to me, but for some reason, just the mood that I was in and the mindset that I was in, it kind of just triggered some old, bad, sad feelings, I guess. Some unfortunate feelings. I'm not going to get too in-depth about what they were, because that's neither here nor there. As I was walking, and kind of maybe wallowing a little bit in those feelings, I took a deep breath and I opened my eyes, and I looked out over the Puget Sound and up at the blue sky, and then thought about the infinity that is beyond the blue sky. And despite the pain and the fears and the hurt that I've received and that I've caused, and the sorrow and the grief and the outright despair that I've had in this lifetime, at that moment, I was able to just kind of shake it all off and realize that, the universe is billions of years old, and how amazing and rare that each one of our lives is. The fact that I could be standing on a bluff overlooking the water, overlooking the sky. The chance of me being able to do that right now is it's just mind-boggling, considering the scope and the size of the entire universe. A lot of people think of the universe as something separate from themselves, and I'm here to tell you that you are part of it. That we're all part of this whole universe. And I just had this feeling of gratitude that I'm here. And it just washed away all of those kind of ooky feelings that I was having. I like saying ooky every once in a while because it's a fun word. But you get what I mean? That's the power of gratitude. I've talked about that before on this podcast. A little bit of gratitude can go a long way. And, I almost broke into tears. I'll be honest with you. I almost broke into tears up there, looking out over the water and just realizing the beauty that was in front of me there at that moment. I wasn't thinking about yesterday. I wasn't thinking about tomorrow. It was one of those rare moments where I was just in that moment. I was aware of my life, and I was just aware of being. And if you can ever get there, it's an amazing spot to be standing. So that's all I'm going to leave you with today. That's all I'm going to talk about today. I hope maybe I've cracked a couple of doors open for you in your head. Think about ways you can identify what your fears are, or at least how to maybe begin to identify them, to start getting in touch with them so you can eventually overpower them and talk them into the corner. Because that's where they deserve to be. And you deserve to walk through that door, head held high, and moving forward. Okay? If you enjoy this podcast, definitely subscribe and like. You can go to anchor.fm/Wayne Tapia and support this podcast directly. That would be great. All your support helps me do this on a weekly basis, and a little more support, I might be able to do it more than once a week, which would be a lot of fun. And as the weeks go by, I'll get better at this, I promise. Y'all be good. Be strong. And if you can't be strong, that's okay. I'll be strong for you.
Thank you for listening to The Upspin.